some radio emission, radio jets, then we can say that it is a pulsar. So X-rays are basically what is the power for the emitted radiation, where from it get the power. The powerful, basically the accretion process. That means from the companions, the X-rays are produced by infalling matter, which releases immense gravitational potential energy. That means from the companions, the matter is falling on the compact objects, and at the expense of gravitational potential energy, radiation is coming out. And the compact sources may be black hole, maybe white dwarf, or maybe a neutron stars. And the source of power is basically the mechanism, the procedure is accretion, and the released energy is at the expense of gravitational potential energy. And the main source of this is actually for all astronomical objects, this is the main source of natural power, and this provides emissions at all wavelengths, radio to X-ray, gamma rays. And the unit mass, if we consider unit mass, then G/mm by R, m is 1, and we will get 10 to the power 20 arcs. But whereabout in case of nuclear reactions, that means hydrogen burning, it will be 6 into 10 to the power 18. And so if we consider the efficiency is 0.007 in case of nuclear reactions. Basically the efficiency depends on m by r, because the primary star, the mass of the primary star and its radius, that means the compactness of the stars. And we can find this efficiency like Gm by r, and this m by r is an important point. This means that if we throw a stone, suppose if we throw a stone on the moon, same stone on the moon or same stone on the black hole, the amount of energy released will be different, and this depends upon the m by r. In case of moon, it will be very less, and in case of a black hole, it will be very, or neutron star, white dwarf, it will be very high. So luminosity of the objects, which is due to the accretion rate, is directly proportional to the accretion rate. And this is, if I put a stone of half mv square, and this is at the equal to G/mm by r square, that is gravitational potentiality energy, and if it is basically eta, if we consider Gm by r, then it is basically eta mc square. And so for white dwarfs, the efficiency is very less, but in case of neutron stars, it is 0.1, and in case of black hole, it is 0.5. That means 50% of mass converted to energy in case of black hole. But in case of nuclear burning, it is about 0.007. That means 0.7%. So accretion is more efficient than nuclear reactions. And the important point is that the luminosity is directly proportional to accretion rate, which means that as the matter as the accreting matters, the rate of accretion matter increases, luminosity will increase. But how far the luminosity will increase? There is some limit. This limit is called the Eddington luminosity, because the gravitational pull is balanced by the outward radiation pressure. And so the Gm, this is G mass of proton, this is the gravitational pull, and this is outward radiation pressure, and this luminosity is called the Eddington luminosity, which is the limit. Maximum luminosity can be achieved by any astrophysical sources. So the emissions from these astrophysical sources, basically we can define that if from a thermal equilibrium, emission coming from radiation coming from the thermal equilibrium regions, then the black body temperature will be TBV. We know that using Stephen's constant, this is sigma. Then we will find these things. TBV will be the radius square into sigma by accretion rate. Sorry, luminosity of accretions. But for a optically thin media, where the radiations in case of proton and suppose electrons, we know for half kT and for 3 half kT, and 3 half kT will be balanced. 3 half kT into 2 equal to will be gmm by r. So this is the thermal radiations, and this is the black body radiation. This is the maximum temperature can be achieved, and this is the black body temperature. In case of X-rays gamma rays, for a black hole sources, it is near black body temperature is near about 1 keV, and the thermal temperature would be 50 MeV. So the conversion of potential energy of accreted matters into thermal energy act as a major source of X-ray radiation. And so X-ray, the temperature of the X-ray radiation is less than thermal and greater than black body radiation. So what would be the structure of the accreting materials? So the accreting materials, how looks like? So whenever we consider a hydrodynamical motions of the particles or the dusts in interstellar medium, we have to consider the Bondi accretion flow, which is the equation of motion of infalling matter per unit mass on a compact objects, maybe on star, maybe on white dwarfs, maybe on neutron stars, maybe on black holes. But this is very simplistic equation which given by Bondi in 1952, where only spherical geometry was considered, and they did not take and took any angular momentum of the infalling matters, and the mass flux is considering these, and the equation of motions that we already know, the hydrodynamical equations, and using these energy conservation equations and mass accretion rate, they obtain the trajectory of the particles. If we consider that these lines, these dashed lines are not physically possible, and only the possible solutions are these, because in order to matter fall into the black holes or compact stars, the velocity must be supersonic. That means must be much higher than the sound speed, and this is the primary conditions for falling matters on the on a compact star. And so this is possibly, this connects these matters from the interstellar mediums to star surface, and here this is coming out from the outflow or jet like this. And so by this, using these equations, the mass accretion rate could be this of the order of 10 to the power 14 gram per second. But this mass accretion rate we have considered here, E is equal to 0.3, produce luminosity of the order of 10 to the power 31 arcs, and this is very less in terms of, if we consider the solar luminosity, it is almost 1% of the solar luminosity. And for that reasons, this process, these mechanisms cannot explain the observed luminosity of the compact object, compact source, or maybe suns where accretion dominates. So in order to solve this issue, the transfer of matter from a star to a compact object, if we consider the accretion in binaries, there are two possible scenarios. One is gravitational force from the black hole, or the neutron star strips the gas, and strong stellar wind loss captured by the black hole. So actually the black hole or the neutron star field is free from the companions by the maybe by the Roselaw overflow or wind accretion. So matter falls on the primary star or primary source can be by two ways. One is Roselaw overflow, another is wind accretions. So by this way, if we can, in the previous case, Bondi did not consider the angular momentum of the infalling matters, but here if we consider the angular momentums and of the infalling matter, then the matter actually rotates. Then the matter actually rotates around the compact stars. Basically, the accretion process is the most efficient process to explain the high luminosity observed in X-ray binaries in AGN. And the accreted materials was found to produce a disc-like temporary depository structure around a disc-like temporary depository structures around the compact object. And this disc-like structure of such accreted flow around the compact object was first suggested by Bell and Pendergast. And in this case, the primary component basically stripped of the matter. This is the primary component stripped out the matter due to the tidal disruptions, either from the companions or from the ambient medium, and hence the accreted matter poises the angular momentum and rotates around the compact stars and forms a disc-like structure. And for that reasons, so now in the previous case, what we see that that we found a huge radial velocity, that the matter directly fall to the compact surface of the compact star. But here, due to the rotational motion, the infall time will be very less, and the matter angular and the frictions, actually the matter spreads in out through the nuclear orbits and a disk forms, and actually the accreted matters from geometrically thin disk in which the matter rotates in Keplerian orbits, which is called the disk accretions, and this is first proposed by the Sakura and Sonaev. So here the radial velocity, in order to fall on the compact star, though the angular momentum has to be transferred, because here the angular momentum in order to fall here, so matter has to be gain the radial velocity, and for that the matter has to be transferred angular momentum. And these things actually the spectrum, the disk spectrum, if we consider a thin disk around the compact stars, and how it looks like, this is some slice of disk, and this was first proposed by 1973 by Sakura and Sonaev, and this is optically thick and dense, and at each radius, if we calculate mathematically, there is a book, and if you can see that the temperature at each of these annuli is different, and this temperature is dependent upon the R dependency, and this is a function of a function term is there. Basically, I want to mean here that if we consider the spectrum here, it will be look like here, and from here it will be look like there. But the energy, as we go inside towards the center of the objects, the kT in the temperature will be increased, and this is basically the resultant picture of the disk formed around the compact objects. And this is, and but it is basically some of the resultant pictures of each annuli if we consider. So total spectrum will be like this, and basically what happens is that the angular momentum when a particle, when matter is moving inside or getting the radial velocity towards the compact source, the viscosity is responsible for driving the matter towards the black hole, because the it's actually the viscous drag changes. The viscous torque is responsible for the transporting angular momentum which outwards and making accretion possible. Because if there is no viscosity, then what's happened that then angular momentum will be conserved, and so matter will revolve at a fixed radius for all times. So viscosity basically transporting the angular momentum outwards and making accretion possible. So these are the examples of disk. The image is taken from Hubble Space Telescopes, and here is the source is AGN source MGC 4261, and here is the source. And if we zoom it, and we'll find a disk-like structures around a compact source. Here is some outflow is like there, and this kind of dust kind of particles that surrounds the compact source. So the geometric structure of the actinic material. So according to the Sakura-Tsunev disk, that's I already discussed, which is a very thin and optically thick and thick, and the black body with the radiations coming from this disk, and which is a temporary radial dependence, and but this disk not able to explain the higher energy of compact sources. That means the hard state, which is extended up to the horizons, or advection dominated term is ignored. And there are so many models in our literatures, and there is one of the model is two-component advective flow models, where the all the terms are they considered, and heating and cooling included, global and complete advective accretion disk was considered, and this disk is looking like this is the Keplerian disk. Actually, this disk was Keplerian component was only considered by the Sakura-Tsunev, because this is the Keplerian component, but as the infalling matter has a distributions of angular momentum, so the matter which have a less angular momentum just resides on its upper sides, and we call it sub-Keplerian. Only because of that, its angular momentum is less in respect of Keplerians. So, and here is the Comptonized regions where the disk cannot sustain up to the event horizons, and it breaks because due to the radial velocity, infall velocity of the matter, and also we know that in case of compact sources, the gravitational force is dependent upon the 1 by r square, but the centrifugal force is proportional to 1 by r cube, and that is why the matter force feels a barrier near about a few source cell radius away from the source, and due to that a shock is developed and a sonic surface is formed, and this region is very hot because the matter puffed up in these regions and before falling to the black holes. And so what's happened is that, and this region is called the Comptonized region. Comptonized region, where the soft photon is Comptonized in these regions, and we find a very higher energy component of spectrum from these regions. So basically, the soft substrate, a compact source have three different vector states: substrate, hard state, and intermediate state. Substrate means when the black body radiation dominates, which is optically thick, and hard state means where this region dominates and where the Compton upscattering of the soft sheets photon from the disk is a dominating mechanisms inside these regions, and intermediate regions where the both are equally equally possible or equally dominating. So timing properties of any black hole sources basically basically depends on the geometry of the source. Sometimes this region size of this region changes, and due to the accretion rate changes, and due to the physical process changes, and these things leads to the timing variability of the black hole sources. And so here how the X-rays are produced, because the mechanism by which the X-ray can be produced, the continuous X-ray are mainly produced by the particles which are follow thermal and non-thermal. Because thermal means that, and when the photons are in thermal equilibrium, so the radiating particles, and the and thermal, they are called thermal equilibrium, and non-thermals means does not follow the Maxwellian distribution formula. And here the radiation coming out from the disk and from the compact source, this is the jets, and here the all radiation coming out from there, and this is the main or the major physical processes which produce X-rays from these compact sources are the Bremsstrahlung emissions, because there is very hot gas, and the electrons, the charged particle in the hot gas accelerate or deaccelerate, and which leads to the radiative mechanism, the process Bremsstrahlung, the black body radiation from hot gas in equilibriums, and the Compton scattering of lower energy radiations by the energetic electrons. And also there are the process, the thermal Comptonizations, and also as if we consider the disk caps, so this may have the magnetic field, and this magnetic field may lead to the synchrotron emissions, where the velocity is comparable to c, and if the velocity is much less than c, then the cyclotron radiation may coming out. So basically what I wanted to say by these things, these are the major processes. There are also some processes there, but these are the major processes by which we can meet the energy budget. That means the amount of energy coming out from these compact sources, we have to have to meet this amount energy budget by the physical processes of the particles comprising disk and just falling into the compact sources. So basically the sources have three different spectral states. This is basically Comptonizing regions, and this is a hard state when the Comptonizing region dominates, what I've said, and the spectrum looks like this is the soft component. This is a black body spectrum, and this is called the Comptonization part. This is called the power law, and this power law is dominate due to the size of these things. When the Comptonizing region is dominate, we get a lower value of power index, and when it is not dominating, it is called the soft spectra or high soft states. In these situations, only black body component is dominant. That means that during this time, the entire energy, the 80% of energy from these processes, and here 80% of these from the Comptonization processes. And there is also a chance of getting jet in the hard state during these states. Here I am not discussing the radio properties. So basically what is outline of my study is we concentrate our study on the evolutions of timing and spectral quantities, such as the QPO frequency. These things I will discuss. Basically, what I wanted to say, we concentrate on different black hole candidates. These are the galactic black hole candidates. These are the galactic black hole candidates, and which have a high inclination, low inclinations, and which may have some persistent source, that is not always bright source. And consider the existing theoretical model to interpret the temporal and spectral behavior of the black hole source. Basically, we have studied these sources, and this study means the study of spectral and timing properties, and states and timing property study means the study of these things. These things I will discuss later, and after this we will explain the uh, observational results in terms of the existing theoretical models. So this is the expected black hole binary is in the Milky Way, and this is actually the accretion disk. Here almost 20 number of black hole candidates, and this suggests the distance and also size. This is the GRS. Among these are the big one is GRS and Cygnus, and we have studied these sources, and there are almost 20 sources. 20 black hole binaries are known in our galaxy Milky Way, and out of these 17 are low mass extrabinary. Low mass extrabinary, that I have told, that low mass extrabinary having mass of the compact sources less than 20 solar mass, and the companion mass is near about 1 solar mass, and 3 are persistently bright. That means these sources are not bright always. Sometimes it bright, and sometimes it in in dormant states. That means no radiation is coming out, or the radiation is almost in the background level, and these sources are called the transient sources. And out of these, only 3 are persistently bright. That means always bright. One is Cygnus X1, other is GRS 1915, and something one is other is there. Okay, and these sources have a frequent outburst. These sources GX339-4, which have a these sources have a frequent outburst, means after 2 and 3 years it is bright, hugely bright, and after that it's come after 5 to 6 months it's again come to dormant states. That means having no radiation coming out, and their evolution is a complex, and we exhibit outbursts for a few days to months. So out of these sources, what I shown there, they have some different kind of inclinations. This is these sources are less than 60 degree, and these are the higher inclinations, and this is the this is also higher inclination, and this is the number of outbursts. Outburst means when the X-ray radiation is much bright, the number of counts is much higher than the background radiations. So these are the steady transients. How the backgrounds, how the source looking like in X spectrum. These are the number of counts. Actually, this is the number of counts is changing with respect to time. This is the number of days, and this is the times, and this is a frequent. It looks like this is called the ASM picture of this source. There are other sources. It looks like that. It looks like, this is the GRO source. It looks like that. So what I wanted to show, these are called the transient sources, because these sources are always not in a outburst mode. Outburst means when you find a huge amount of X-ray radiation, and this radiation, and which is variable in of the order of in milliseconds, and these radiations exist for few days to few months. These sources, and during this time the sources is in dormant state, because no radiation, almost zero kind count radiation coming out, but these sources are near about always bright, and radiation fluctuates. So these sources are called the persistent persistent source, and this source is for the outburst source. So mathematical formation of our study, I think. And so any outburst sources, the photon count can be represented by time with count number, and if we zoom it we find this, if we again zoom it we found this. So this is the time in millisecond, this is the number of counts changes. So uh, this can be written in terms of a Fourier, in terms of a uh, time series, and this time series, if we take a Fourier transform, we will get the Fourier domain, the frequency domain, and in this domain we will be able to calculate the power of these sources, power. And what happens is that this is a count per second by time. If we take a Fourier transforms, it will be looked up because this pulsation is coherent. This is a this is variable, but these variations means if we take a Fourier transforms, we find this, and this is called the QPO. QPO means quasi-periodic oscillations, which is not periodic. This is completely periodic. That is why we find a delta function, but it is not periodic, and we find a width, and so power is like that, because we are mainly searching for the periodicity in timing, because all the X-ray detectors actually actually have two types of data or informations. One is time stampings and other is energy information. A data is so if we consider the time stamping, and then we consider the time series, and if we take a Fourier transform, we will find these things. And so power density, so power spectrum is unit of Hertz, and it scales with the variance of it scales with the square of the intensity, which is called the variance. So this is normalizations. And so the other thing is that power spectrum is, if we consider amplitude of the Fourier transform, we will get the actually the power spectrum means in the the frequency domain. If we in the frequency domain, if we consider in the amplitude, that means hf into hf star, and that's the amplitude square means power. And if we take the phase difference, then it will be phase. These things, it will be the phase. And if we take two times series, that means if we take a data of a source, and if we divide it in different energies, suppose we have a data of 2 to 20 kV, and if we separate 2 to 10 and 10 to 20, and if we take the Fourier transform of first Fourier transform of each of these component, and then if we cos it, then we will get the phase. This is called the cos informations actually, and this is the one is complex conjugate and other is this, and this is the two different energy. But if we consider F is equal to G, if we consider the same energy level, then it will be square. Then it will be square, and which is called the power spectrum. This is the power spectrum, and this is the lag spectrum. If we consider the two different energy level, that means lag, cos spectrum actually calculates the difference of arrival difference of two photons between two different energy level. And the power spectrum, this is called the power spectrum. Power spectrum determines the power inside any variability. So time on phase lag, this means that this difference, if we divide by this phi into 2 pi nu, then we will get the time and phase lag. What is the physical meaning of time lag? Time difference in arrival time between hard and soft photons. Hard lags is when hard photons lags behind the soft photons, and this is the soft lag. So what are the key methods for studying variability? The methods actually we can studying the variability is the Fourier techniques for the power density spectrum that I already discussed. The cross spectrum we can study, and the hardness intensity diagram, dynamic power density spectrum, etc. So spectral and timing quantities, correlations, evolution, etc. can be studied by studying the variability. And what is happening in case of X-ray detector, the data, X-ray astronomy usually starts with the detection of an event corresponding to the detection of a photon. Actually, the X-ray detectors are in space due to the medium in our Earth and surrounding atmosphere in our Earth, and so we have to send the X-ray detectors in space, and so detection of an photon, it starts with the detection of photon, which have two parameters. One is time stamping, one is energy stamping. That is the event stampings. And X-ray detectors are the photon counting detectors, and this detector response can be mathematically written as this. I will not go into details now. And this is basically, this FE means the what the detectors and the gets the information from the source. And actually, these are the informations of the photons on the detector surface. On the detector, if he is the information of the source on the detector surface, and we can do temporal analysis by using time stamping, and by using energy stamping, we can use the energy spectral analysis. So all the source physics are inside these things, because then this FE is calculated the photons. So first thing, the evolution of timing properties. I will discuss the evolution of timing property, which means the time lag, RMS power, QPO, and which will be for low influence sources, high influence sources, as well as persistent sources. So this is the power spectrum, and this is the lag spectrum. And power spectrum at same, this is frequency and this is power, and this is the time lag between the hard and between the two photons from two different energy channels. So what we calculate these photons, and actually this is from the light curve. If we take a Fourier transform, we will get this, and if we take a cross between two different energy, we get this. And so for a source which have a count like that, if we take a Fourier transforms, we will get a power like this. This is called the quasi-periodic oscillation. It moves as it moves, and this is the time lag spectrum of the source. So this power moves, and this quasi-periodic oscillation moves, and again coming back and moves, coming back, moves somewhere. And this we found from the temporal variability during the source GRS 1915 plus 1015. And this is actually the lag is here, lag is positive, and you will find somewhere that lag is not positive. Here lag is negative. This is zero lag, and here you will find the negative lag. So actually what's happening is that when the matter is falling towards the black holes, and if this QPO frequency, this QPO is moves towards the black hole, higher frequency, that means towards the black holes, and the lag is positive, sometimes negative, and we have to study this. Okay, so are you all hearing all these things? Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear.
Everything is okay?
Yeah, okay. We can see.
Okay. Thank you. So if we consider a source, black hole source, which is GX33914, this is the name, and this source have a low inclination, and this source have a outbursting features. This is 9798. The number of photon counts increases, then again stops, and again increase 2002, 3, 2004, 5, 2006, 7, 10, and again. So basically these are the photons, data of the photons from 2 to 12 keV. Only we have plotted the photons of 2 to 12 keV. So during these times we don't able to do any kind of analysis because the counted is almost in the background level. But in order to study, these sources are called the Scandinavian sources because sometimes it's in in outbursting phase and sometimes it is dormant phase. And these sources are the frequent outburst. This is the mass of the black hole is 5.8 solar mass, and we have a systematic evolution, and we studied these sources from here, and here and here. So what you find is that this is basically the hardness intensity diagram. That means here we plot the hard photon by soft photon, and here the total number of photons. This is very interesting and very figures in case of the galactic black hole binaries, because one picture this always people are always want to produce this kind of pictures, because outburst phase starts from here and it moves like that, moves, and here moves, and then come back to here, and we analysis during this phase and during this phase. And what you find is that the EPO frequency that I have showed, that the possibility of oscillations, some bump is some moving and coming back and moving. If we calculate this frequency, and this frequency varies with time, and what is the very interesting picture is that in case of 2002, 2004, 2007, and 2010, we have a similar kind of things, but the outbursting of the profiles, the frequency variation is same, and the frequency profile is same, but there is maybe some delay. It takes a few days more, and it takes a few days less. But the interesting feature is that for all four outbursts, we have a similar kind of picture. And what happens is that in case of the other sources, this is the QPO frequency here. This is the 0.08 hertz, and then it moves 0.12 hertz, then 0.28, 1.03 hertz, and then 1, and then it moves, and here is 3.95, 9.9, and then this like that. That means these things are moving. So, and here we find the same things for a persistent source, which is persistent source means this source is always bright, and we have a always count rate. This is the count rate always greater than background. This is the 50, and so for these sources, and here almost 4 years later, 4 to 5 years later, this observation 270 days and 770 days. And that means 500 days, and 500 days means 1.5 hours later, the same kind of things. And what we find that this QPO frequency moves and then moves again, these things. So this variation of QPO frequency, or we can say that the evolution of QPO frequency with respect to time is an important features for our outbursting source. And if we consider for the other sources, it is like that. It is variation. There is like that, and this is same things for these sources. This is a high inclination source. High inclination source means if we see vertically, then the angle with the vertical direction, and high inclination source means we are looking along disk, and here we are looking from vertically upward directions. For low inclination means this is called the face on source, and this is called face off source. So for these three sources, we have a similar kind of variation in QPO frequency with respect to time. So QPO frequency variation gives us a clue to the geometry variations of the computerizing cloud. Why? Because here, if we draw a physical pictures, and this work already, that when the frequency is less, the computerizing region is big, and it is like that. And the Keplerian component comes, and then frequency is 1 hertz and 13 hertz and very small, then 30 hertz, and they can come back in opposite direction. So these QPO variations can be related with the geometrical changing of the compromising regions. And so the accretion dynamics, the geometry of the accretion dynamics is vary during the outburst phase, and these variations can be found from these TPU frequency variations. So again, the other parameter is time lag variations should also have independently information. Now we have studied only the QPO variations, quasi-periodic oscillation frequency variations, and we can also study the time lag variations. And these variations, actually these variations can be related with mathematically shock solutions, and these shock solutions we can produce a theoretically changing and theoretically in the what is the frequency on the next days, what could be the frequency on the next days and so on. And by this we can feed these things. This is the here just and we feed this straight line are from the theoretical data, and this straight line from the theoretical data, and by fitting it with theoretical models, shock oscillation model, we can determine the size of these things. This is called the shock location size, and we can determine the size of these things. This is a very important parameter that we can derive from these things. And so these oscillations of the shock wave is responsible. We have to consider the smooth variation of frequency due to the movement of compromising energy region. So what we find there, if we plot the size of this shock location, that means that this size, that when outburst starts here, and then this size varying, and just, and when the matter comes very close to the black holes, then it comes here. So we find a systematic variations of changing of compromising regions with the help of this shock solution model, and these things are similar for the other black hole candidates. So these are the all different candidates and follow the same kind of things. So this is a findings of the geometric variations. So variation of accretion disk plus component clouds can be obtained from these things. And same thing is that if we plot a time lag, this is the QPO variation and changing. This starts in when the frequency is very low, that time lag is maximum. Actually, it's anti-correlates, because when the QPSC frequency is very low, that means the source, that means the matter is very far away from the compact source, very far away, and where the time lag, the time difference, this time lag means the time difference between the soft photon and hard photons is very big, and then comes, and this is for other source GFC 3994, and which is a low inclination source. And the same things, if we consider the other source GRO, we find things initially the value of the time lag is big, and then it decreases. And so in case of GX33-4, the variations for 2002 outburst, this is actually QPO variations, quasi-periodic variation, and this is the time lag variations. And this is for the 2007, same variations, and this is for the 2010. We find the same kind of variation. So, and this is for the GRS 1915 source, which is persistent source. We find the same time lag variations like these things. But here the interesting point is that here the time lags becomes negative after sometimes, and after 3 hertz, here we plot the QPO frequency versus time lag, the correlation of QPO frequency, but time lag is negative near about 3 hertz, here near about 3 hertz. So positive time lag means the higher energy photon coming late, and the negative time lag, that time lag is negative means the lower energy photon coming the lower energy photon coming late. So this implies the variation in accretion geometry, and we have a figure for the lots of sources. We have studied the time lag and QPO variations, and here is but the interesting point is that I wanted to show. That is why I wanted to show these things, because there is a sharp change near about 3 hertz for all the sources. So these are all the different sources, but we find for this source we find a sharp change like this. For this source here, a change means that time lag positive to negative here, and here the tangent changes, and so around 3 hertz there the geometry is something is responsible for doing this kind of changing. So correlation changes near 3 hertz. This is a we have to explain these things, and what is happening there and on this side. So energy property time dependence is, if we consider the lag with energy, and for these sources it varies like that for higher quasidic oscillations the lag is positive, and for lower oscillation frequency the time lag is negative. In case of GRS, same thing is happening. And here we plotted for 3 different sources. This is the high inclination source, this is the low inclination source, and this is also in moderately intermediate. That means near about 50 in degree inclinations. So what is the interesting thing, that for these sources it is positive, always positive lag, and here the lag is negative. The lower, the color indicates the frequency, and here for the other sources is GRS. And so if we consider the power of the QPO for these XT sources, and it peaks near about lower energy, but in case of this source it peaks about near about 20 keV. So we find this difference because this source is persistent source and of higher inclination, and this is not a persistent source, outbursting source, and only have single outburst. We did not have so many outbursts like the other sources. So basically what's happening is that how
we are
yes?
going out of time. Hurry up.
Okay. Okay. So basically the inclination matters, the on which angle we are seeing, and this for these reasons, if we look the source is here at these angles, we are getting the photons in this way, and if we look greater than 60 angles, that means higher inclination source, we are getting the photon like this way. So we have to consider the inclination of the source for getting the idea. So the mechanism of the lag is responsible for the repeated Compton scattering, the reflections, the inclination angle focusing, and the geometry of the sources. And here the simulations by using this geometry that I have shown to you, and this geometry for which we can see that theoretically how the lag changes, and there is a time lag which is varying with the geometry, 20 degree, 50 degree, and 80 degree. And here we find this so you conclude that inclination effect on the time lag with outflows. So what is the result? We find a coherent evolutions of time lags and quasi-periodic oscillations for all these sources, a systematic evolutions of compromising regions, and always hard lag for the phase-on sources, and we find a hard lag up to frequency 3 hertz, and then soft lag for the edge-on sources, which is a high inclination sources. So here is a radio correlations. Here this is the outliner source, this is the graphic sources, all these sources, and here is the correlation between the radioluminosity and the X-ray luminosity, and we consider the lag correlations with the radio correlations for these sources. Here we find where the radio flux is maximum, the lag is minimum. The maximum lag is the minimum. This is our recent work published in FJ. And for these sources, the radio is actually the anti-correlates. The lag anti-correlates with radio. And here I show that. And for here, you see that when the radio is peak, almost the lag is maximum negative there. So we consider that we can say that the soft lag or the lag is correlating. That means hard lag is anti-correlating. So radio soft lag is correlating with the radio band photons. And this is actually the findings of our work and what we published in FJ in last year. And this is actually the spectral revolutions. If I consider the spectrum of the entire outburst, and it has all the states. Here the soft state and intermediate state, hard state, and this is the all state. Here this is the spectrum soft state, and this is already hard state. So conclusion is there. The timing property is a function of photon energy and inclination for transient and Persian sources. So what I can say that for define the timing property, timing variations of the sources is depend upon inclinations, and that time lag increases with QPO frequency and goes on, and which means that the size of the compromising region is changing, and this implies that a possible geometrical variations of the accretion disk can come from cloud for both the sources. The lag property is inclination dependent. So change of lag sign at specific frequency implies after a specific size of the compromising region. So basically, what are, in a word, we can say that by timing variability study, we able to say the geometrical variations of a galactic black hole sources. So this is our findings in a sentence. So thanks for hearing. If you have any question, please.
If you have any question, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. We will take 1 to 2 questions. Okay, I think Dr. Bhadra has some question.
Yes.
Yeah. How the black hole properties come in your conclusion? How the black hole properties have entered in your conclusion?
Black hole properties. How the black hole properties means what I wanted to say.
What are the black hole properties? If it is ordinary, extra binary.
Yes.
What is the difference? Yeah. What is the difference? Because you have considered black hole binaries.
Yes. X-ray binaries.
Any black hole features from your result?
That is very difficult to say. It is what I can say that if we consider neutron star, the spectrum of neutron star or variability features of the neutron stars, in respect of neutron star, we have some difference. That means that in case of neutron star, the quasi-periodic oscillation frequency and the spectrum is different. And what is see that here in case of black hole, we have a evolution of quasi-periodic oscillation frequency for a few days, but in case of neutron star or any compact star, you will not find that. In case of neutron star, you have the quasi-periodic oscillations, but these variations of quasi-periodic oscillations over a few weeks, you will not be able to find. And this is one thing that I can easily I can say. But And the second thing is that the phase lag. Same thing is that if we study the evolution properties of phase lag, and you will find that it is also varying, varying coherently with QPO frequency, and for a few days, and sometimes it's become negatives and then again positives, and these kind of features you will not find in case of neutron stars. That I can say from my work.
But this is your observation, but it is not related to black hole physics anyway.
Obviously, no, not black hole physics. What I can say that this is the feature. These sources are the black hole sources already established in from optical observation, the mass, and from other observations, and so we find this kind of feature is distinctly different and by X-rays. So we can say only that thing, and other thing, if you want some, that is there any direct evidences of the black holes or no, that is not possible, you know.
Any other question for any participant? Okay, I find that there are no more questions. So let us thank the speaker. Okay, we cannot hear clap, but at least I can. Now we are concluding our talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
That's a good talk. Good presentation.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you very much.